Vancouver's housing market has been teetering on the brink for years. It's a city known for its breathtaking beauty, nestled between the mountains and the ocean. But now, the allure of Vancouver's real estate is fading fast. Prices that once seemed invincible have plummeted, leaving homeowners and investors in shock, questioning what went wrong. But now, there's something even more alarming hiding beneath the surface, literally. New data has revealed a shocking threat to Vancouver's future. Hidden earthquake risks that could put thousands of homes in jeopardy, and worse, lead to a devastating collapse of the housing market as we know it. According to the latest reports from StatsCan and the CMHC, Vancouver is already facing one of its worst housing crises in decades. The once booming market is now mired in chaos. Mortgage defaults are at an all-time high, with more than 15% of homeowners unable to make payments on time. The average price of a home has dropped by over 30% in just 2 years. For most people, their homes were their biggest investment, their safety net. Now, they are sinking into the ground, both financially and literally. And the worst part? Nobody saw this coming. Vancouver sits on a massive tectonic fault line. The city's foundation is unstable, and the risk of an earthquake has always loomed over its residents. But until recently, this threat was largely ignored. After all, who thought a major earthquake could hit in the near future? For years, Vancouver's real estate developers and investors chose to downplay these risks. As the city boomed, with new condos and luxury apartments rising higher each year, nobody wanted to acknowledge that the land beneath them might not be as solid as it seemed. But now, experts are sounding the alarm. A growing body of research and data from geologists and engineers is warning that Vancouver is sitting on a ticking time bomb. The earthquake risks are no longer a distant possibility, they are imminent, and the consequences could be catastrophic. Vancouver's geography, with its sprawling urban center, built on soft soil and clay deposits, makes it especially vulnerable to seismic activity. The city lies on the Cascadia Subduction Zone, a massive fault line that stretches from northern California to British Columbia. A major earthquake along this fault line could send shockwaves through Vancouver, toppling buildings, crumbling infrastructure, and devastating homes across the region. The last major earthquake to hit the area, over 300 years ago, was powerful enough to displace entire coastal communities. The real question is, when will the next one strike? Scientists warn that it could happen at any moment. And Vancouver, with its outdated building codes and lack of preparedness, is woefully unprepared for the magnitude of the disaster that could follow. The consequences for Vancouver's housing market are unimaginable. Homes in the city's most desirable neighborhoods, those priced at millions of dollars, could be destroyed in seconds. Entire condo towers built in the last decade, once seen as the pinnacle of luxury living, could crumble to the ground, leaving their owners with nothing. Even homes that seem safe in suburban areas are at risk, as seismic activity could trigger landslides or massive soil liquefaction, rendering the properties unstable and uninhabitable. For homeowners who've already invested their life savings into Vancouver real estate, the financial implications are devastating. In a city where property values were once seen as a guaranteed way to build wealth, these homes could soon be worth nothing at all. But what's even more shocking is that the true scale of this risk is just now coming to light. According to a study by UBC's Earthquake Engineering Research Group, more than 50% of Vancouver's existing buildings were constructed before the 1990 seconds, making them especially vulnerable to seismic activity. These older buildings were not designed to withstand the kind of powerful earthquakes that experts are predicting. And even newer buildings constructed under outdated codes that fail to account for the full extent of the seismic risk are not guaranteed to stand up to a major earthquake. In fact, a report from the Canadian Construction Association estimates that the cost to retrofit existing buildings in Vancouver to make them earthquake-resistant could exceed $10 billion, a sum that local governments and developers simply cannot afford. This is where the real crisis begins. Developers who once thrived in Vancouver's booming real estate market are now pulling out in droves. Construction projects that were once thought to be lucrative investments are being abandoned. Banks, such as RBC and Scotiabank, are tightening their lending policies, refusing to fund new projects or offering only high-risk loans with outrageous interest rates. The once vibrant housing market has turned into a minefield, with few willing to take on the risks associated with building or buying in the city. Vancouver's housing market is slowly sinking, but the true danger comes from beneath literally. The fallout from this seismic crisis is already being felt. Developers who built their fortunes on Vancouver's real estate boom are filing for bankruptcy as their investments crash. Entire projects worth millions of dollars are left unfinished, with buyers who had already committed to purchasing homes left stranded. For many, it's a financial nightmare. People who thought they were purchasing their dream homes are now left with depreciating assets as their investments lose value by the day. And this crisis is about to get worse. The cascading effects of the housing market collapse are beginning to ripple through every corner of Vancouver's economy. Retailers, restaurant owners, and small business operators are seeing fewer customers as people tighten their belts and prepare for the worst. The once thriving city is beginning to feel like a ghost town, with many fearing that the worst is yet to come. But there's a deeper, more disturbing layer to this crisis that no one wants to talk about: the human cost. While economists and real estate experts argue over the future of Vancouver's housing market, the people who actually live in these homes are suffering. Homeowners who had been banking on their property values increasing to fund their retirement are now faced with a stark reality. Their homes are worth a fraction of what they paid for them. Even worse, they're now left with properties that could collapse in a disaster. For families who've poured their life savings into their homes, the financial and emotional toll is unbearable. Meet Sarah, a Vancouver resident who bought her condo in the city's downtown core just 3 years ago, thinking it would be the perfect place to settle down with her family. Now, she's struggling to make ends meet as her property value drops by the day. The stress of worrying about her home's future is taking a toll on her health, as she constantly worries that a major earthquake could strike at any moment. Sarah's story is just one of thousands of people who are being affected by this crisis. For many, the fear of losing everything is more than just financial. It's a deep, personal fear of losing the life they've built. And it's not just homeowners who are feeling the pressure. Vancouver renters, many of whom are already stretched thin by high rents and increasing cost of living, are now fearing what will happen to their homes if an earthquake strikes. Some renters have already been notified by their landlords that their buildings are not earthquake resistant, forcing them to make difficult decisions about their future. The city, once a haven for young professionals and families, is now a ticking time bomb with no clear solution in sight. But what's more alarming is that the earthquake risk isn't just a hypothetical concern, it's happening now. Scientists have been warning about the likelihood of a major earthquake in the region for years, and the evidence is stacking up. Vancouver's infrastructure, its buildings, and even its residents are not prepared for the destruction that could follow. The city is a powder keg waiting to explode, and the question remains: will Vancouver be ready when disaster strikes? The political leaders who should be leading the charge to address these issues are struggling to keep up with the pace of the crisis. The provincial government has made some efforts to improve building codes and to fund research into earthquake preparedness, but these measures have been slow and inadequate. As the crisis deepens, it's clear that the leadership in Vancouver is out of touch with the severity of the situation. The stakes are too high for inaction, but right now, that's exactly what the city is getting. And as long as these issues remain unaddressed, Vancouver's housing market will continue to unravel, leaving thousands of residents at risk of losing everything. As Vancouver's housing market spirals into chaos, the cracks are beginning to show in every corner of the city. The impacts of the housing crisis are reverberating through the economy in ways no one could have predicted. Unemployment is rising as construction projects are halted, and thousands of skilled workers find themselves out of jobs. Builders who once thrived in Vancouver's booming market are now filing for bankruptcy, unable to recover from the fallout. The banks, which once eagerly lent millions to investors and homeowners, are now tightening their belts. The once vibrant real estate market has transformed into a battlefield of desperation and uncertainty. In a city already struggling to keep its head above water, the seismic risks lurking beneath the surface threaten to drown it completely. Vancouver's crumbling infrastructure is not just a metaphor, it's a ticking time bomb. The city's aging buildings, poorly constructed during a period of rapid growth, are at risk of collapse in the event of a major earthquake. Even newer buildings, designed under outdated codes, are not guaranteed to survive. And, with a population of over 2.5 million people, the potential for a catastrophic loss of life and property is staggering. The real estate market, once considered a safe haven for investors, has now become a high-risk gamble. Properties that were once valued in the millions are losing value at an alarming rate. What was once a symbol of wealth and status has become a liability. Buyers are pulling out of deals, and sellers are left with unsellable homes. It's a crisis that shows no signs of slowing down. What's worse, the political leadership in Vancouver is caught in a web of indecision. Efforts to mitigate the risk of a housing collapse have been half-hearted at best, And the lack of a clear strategy is only exacerbating the problem. In response to the growing crisis, the provincial government has begun to take some action. Some funding has been allocated for earthquake preparedness, and building codes have been updated in an attempt to address the risks posed by seismic activity. But these measures are too little, too late. The city's real estate sector, in its current state, is already beyond saving. The cost of retrofitting old buildings to meet modern seismic standards is astronomical, and few developers are willing to take on the financial burden. For many homeowners, the damage has already been done. Their homes, once seen as a source of security, are now ticking time bombs, vulnerable to the next big shake. And it's not just the city's physical infrastructure that's in jeopardy. The human cost of this crisis is immense. Families are being forced to make heart-wrenching decisions. Should they stay in their homes, risking their safety, or abandon their property and try to salvage whatever they can? The stress is unbearable, with many homeowners facing the reality that their dreams of owning a home are quickly slipping away. Some are even facing foreclosure as they struggle to meet their mortgage payments, unable to keep up with skyrocketing interest rates and falling property values. Sarah, a mother of two, bought her condo in Vancouver's downtown core just 2 years ago. She thought it would be the perfect place to raise her children, but now, she's terrified that her home could collapse in the next big earthquake. The value of her condo has dropped by more than 25%, and she's struggling to keep up with her mortgage payments. "I never thought I'd be in this situation," Sarah says, her voice filled with fear. "I bought this place thinking it was a secure investment, but now I feel like I'm just waiting for it to all come crashing down." Sarah's story is not unique. Across Vancouver, thousands of homeowners are facing the same dilemma: to hold on to their properties and risk everything, or cut their losses and try to find a way out. But with the real estate market in freefall, it's not clear where they can go. Many renters are in a similar situation, struggling to find affordable housing as rents continue to rise, while the threat of an earthquake looms over them. The city's once thriving housing market has become a dangerous game of survival, where only the most fortunate will come out unscathed. As the crisis deepens, the ripple effects are being felt across the entire region. The construction industry is in disarray, with large projects being abandoned and smaller developers going bankrupt. The cost of construction materials has skyrocketed, driven up by supply chain disruptions and the need for earthquake-resistant materials. This has only added to the strain on the housing market, making it even harder for new homes to be built. Meanwhile, the city's infrastructure is crumbling, with critical systems such as water, electricity, and transportation struggling to keep up with the demands of a growing population. The consequences of this crisis are far-reaching. Vancouver's economy, once seen as a beacon of prosperity, is now facing a downturn. Businesses are closing their doors, and unemployment is on the rise. The city's population is beginning to shrink as people flee in search of more affordable living conditions elsewhere. For those who remain, the future is uncertain. As one Vancouver resident puts it, "I've lived here my whole life, but I'm not sure how much longer I can stay. The city is changing, and it's not for the better." The earthquake risks are only adding fuel to the fire. Even as the housing market crashes, the threat of a major earthquake hangs over the city like a sword of Damocles. Scientists have been warning about the potential for a catastrophic event for years, but the government has failed to take meaningful action. Now, Vancouver finds itself at a crossroads. The city's leadership must decide whether to invest in long-term solutions to address the risks posed by seismic activity, or continue to ignore the problem and hope for the best. But the truth is, Vancouver may already be beyond saving. The housing market is collapsing, and the cost of retrofitting buildings to withstand an earthquake is prohibitive. The city's infrastructure is crumbling, and the political leadership is paralyzed by indecision. With every passing day, the risk of a major earthquake grows, and when it hits, the consequences will be devastating. Thousands of homes will be destroyed, and the city's economy will be plunged into chaos. Vancouver's housing market may never recover from this crisis. The real estate bubble that once inflated the city's fortunes has burst, and now the city is left with the wreckage. The residents who once believed in the dream of homeownership are now facing the nightmare of financial ruin. The politicians who failed to act in time will be held accountable, but it will be the people of Vancouver who pay the ultimate price. For those who still own homes in the city, the future is uncertain. As the threat of an earthquake looms, their properties are worth less than ever before. Many are already facing foreclosure, unable to keep up with their mortgages. And for those who thought they could sell their homes and move on, they are finding that the market has collapsed beyond repair. It's a grim reality that few were prepared for, and one that will change Vancouver forever. But there is still hope. The crisis may seem insurmountable, but if action is taken now, it may still be possible to mitigate some of the damage. The government needs to prioritize earthquake preparedness, invest in retrofitting existing buildings, and create policies that will make Vancouver more resilient to the threats it faces. Developers must be held accountable for the safety of their buildings, and homeowners need the support they deserve. It will take time, resources, and a unified effort, but it's the only chance Vancouver has of surviving the storm that's coming. If you're a homeowner, investor, or resident of Vancouver, now is the time to act. Don't wait until it's too late. The risks are real, and the consequences are devastating. Be prepared, stay informed, and take action before the earthquake strikes. If you found this video informative and shocking, make sure to leave a comment with one below, and don't forget to subscribe to our channel. You won't want to miss the next video, where we'll dive even deeper into the implications of the housing crisis and how you can protect yourself. Don't wait until it's too late. Stay tuned and stay safe.